I would like to welcome everybody from around the world here today to the 5,534th meeting of the Rotary Club of Chicago. And to kick us off in our action-packed program for today, I would like to turn the floor over to our very esteemed past president, Mr. Khaled Akawi. Khaled, the floor is yours. You just have to unmute yourself, Khaled. You're still muted there, Khaled. There you go.
I can't see you, but thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's an honor to have you here with us today. On February 23rd, 1905, the first meeting of Rotary International took place here in Chicago. And the first project didn't take place until 2 years after that, 1907. Since then, there has been hundreds, if not thousands, of projects taking place over the past 113 years. Our motto, as service above self, serves the world through programs in health, education, disease prevention, and many other types of community projects. 51 years later, after the first Rotary meeting on September 11, 1956, President Eisenhower brought invited American representing all different professions from occupation to Washington, D.C. to attend a conference and citizen diplomacy. This formed the People to People and Sister City International Program. To quote President Eisenhower, and I quote, "Any peace treaty between any two countries is only worth the piece of paper it's written on unless the people of the two countries interact with each other." And today is a perfect example of that. In 1998, I initiated a program for Amman, Chicago Sister City. By June 2004, it was approved and signed here in Chicago by Mayor Daley, Richard M. Daley, and King of Jordan, King Abdullah. Our first project in the Chicago Sister City, Amman, Chicago program took place in 2006, where our first project was to donate 5 fully equipped ambulances to the city of Amman. The relationship and program still continue today. 2 years later, in 2008, I was a member of a humanitarian delegation overseas where I met Rotarian, where I actually attended my first Rotary meeting overseas. Upon my return to Chicago, I attended the Chicago One meeting, and I saw the similarity in the mission of Sister City, People to People, and Rotary One. But I was drawn to the focus, the weekly meeting, and the mission of Rotary One as we sponsor service projects locally and globally. In particular, one comes to mind, it developed a mobile hospital for Ecuador. The career of your honor, our guest of honor today, is most appropriate for this visit to coincide with the first joint sponsor meeting by Sister City International and Rotary One. Your priority on education, infrastructure, and transparency aligns with the Rotarian missions and values. And coincidentally, your priority to purchase 50 new buses for the city may also be considered an alignment with the Sister City Activities Initiative. Either way, the city and the citizen will benefit from this collaboration. As Gandhi would say, truth never damages a cause that is trust. The truth never damages a cause that is just. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much, Khaled. That's a fantastic thought. I really enjoyed that, and I think you're right about everything you've said about the mayor. Particularly like the buses. I'm a transportation guy myself, so always happy to hear about investment in infrastructure and public transportation. I want to start out with just a couple thoughts before we move into some remarks from other individuals on our call today, and then ultimately get to the mayor. First, I do want to start by thanking all that have contributed to this program and are contributing just by being here in this meeting today. And I really appreciate your presence. So first of all, thank you to the Lithuanian consulates for being instrumental in connecting us with the mayor's office. Thank you to Chicago Sister Cities International for your partnership. And thanks to our own Don Gardner for fostering that partnership. Thank you to the Lithuanica International Rotary Club and Victoria Trimble, District Governor, there for working with me on this and helping to spread the word, as well as Renata and the Chicago Lithuanian Rotary Club who've done the same. And of course, many thanks to His Honor the Mayor of Vilnius for being with us today as well. Now, the concept of sister cities and the concept of today's program reminds us of the strengths of global connections, as Khaled so accurately pointed out, and the power of diversity. It is diversity, after all, diversity of backgrounds, nations, ethnicities, religions, genders, points of views, ideas that make this city what it is. Make it the economic and thought leader that it has always been, make it a vibrant and exciting city in which to live, and provide the foundation on which its future success is being built. And it's important to me that our club, the Rotary Club of Chicago, be one of those builders. So our inaugural Sister Cities program today is focused on Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania. I was actually there once in the summer of 2003 and was truly inspired by the incredible spirit and progress of the city such a short time after the fall of the Iron Curtain. During that trip, my friend and I wandered around the city one day and stumbled upon a crowd. There was a parade. Turns out it was celebrating the 750th anniversary of the crowning of the first king of Lithuania. There were delegations of the Lithuanian diaspora from nations around the world, proudly holding the signs of Ireland, or Australia, or Germany. And when they got to the US, because there's so many Lithuanians here, it was broken down by state. And then when they got to Illinois, it was further broken down by city and even by neighborhood. Now, as someone who has grown up primarily in the southwest suburbs of Chicago for some years in the town of Lamont, here I was on the other side of the planet staring at the name of that town on a sign, a town that most people, I think, in our own northern suburbs here in Chicago might not have ever heard of. So it was at that moment that I realized just how important of a region the Chicago area was for the Lithuanian population. I think it's also embodied in the importance of people like Stanley Belzikis, who you will hear about soon. And before we go into the program, I do want to, again, just remind folks to stay on mute and type questions in the chat box. We're going to start today's program with a few words from our co-sponsor, Chicago Sister Cities International. We've been growing a partnership together, not just with this program, but also with some other international events and activities that have obvious synergies between the two internationally minded organizations. So I'm thrilled to introduce you today to the Executive Director of Chicago Sister Cities International, Adrienne Tungate. Adrienne, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eric. It's a pleasure to be here. When Eric and Don approached me about partnering with Rotary One on the speaker series, I leapt at the opportunity. Sister Cities and the Rotary Club share similar missions, as we heard from Khaled, of uniting people across the world and in their communities. We believe that the more that individuals know about each other and understand each other's similarities and, importantly, differences, the more peaceful the world will be. At Chicago Sister Cities International, we accomplish that through our partnerships with 29 sister cities around the world and through the efforts of more than 600 volunteers. We are the largest and the most active sister city program in the United States. And our volunteers are citizen diplomats who are passionate about both Chicago and its sister cities. And they drive our initiatives around education, culture, business, and best practice exchanges. This is our 60th anniversary, and our mission is just as important now as it was 60 years ago. Our first sister city was with Warsaw in 1960. Sister Cities and the Rotary share many volunteers in common. So Khaled, very nice to see you again. And Don, thank you for all you do for both of our organizations. And it's so great to see you all today. If any of you would like to learn more about joining one of our sister city committees, I'd be happy to speak with you separately later. And I'd like to acknowledge our Vilnius committee members who have joined us today. And also, as Eric mentioned, to honor the legacy of Stanley Belzikis. Stanley was a legend, I think it's fair to say, in both Chicago and in Lithuania. He dedicated his life to service, first as a World War II Purple Heart veteran, and through his passion of sharing Lithuanian culture. He was a driving force in developing the Chicago and Vilnius sister cities relationship in 1993, and he was the ultimate citizen diplomat when we talk about all that that embodies. Through the Balsikas Museum of Lithuanian Culture, which is the largest Lithuanian museum outside of Lithuania, and his work through sister cities, he spent decades teaching the world about Lithuanian culture. And beyond his accomplishments, he was just a great guy. He was visionary, gracious, and witty. He was definitely the life of the party wherever he was. And so we are committed to continuing his work of strengthening ties between Chicago and Lithuania. And that's why it's so fitting that the first program with our new partnership with Rotary One features Vilnius. And I'd like to thank both the Consul General and the Mayor for your continued support to the Sister Cities program and for your commitment in building bridges between our two great cities. I look forward to working with you in future exchanges. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adrian. That was really nice. And I would like to encourage our members to, if they're interested in cities around the world, do connect with Adrian. We can certainly share her contact information with you, and you can join one of these committees. And it's also an honor to be able to be remembering Stanley as part of our meeting here today. So now to move on to the next portion of our program. The Lithuanian Consul General to Chicago, Mr. Remigijus, I'm afraid was unable to attend today. However, the Counselor for Economic Affairs for the Lithuanian Consulate, Mr. Vidmantas Verbickas, who was the person who actually connected us with the mayor in the first place, is actually here to introduce His Honor, the Mayor of Vilnius. So, Mr. Verbickas, the floor is yours.
Eric, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. It's my great pleasure to be at this meeting and to introduce Mayor of Vilnius, Mr. Remigijus Šimašius. Thank you for the Rotary Club and Chicago Sister Cities International for organizing the series and hosting this meeting. It's great effort to keep a city-to-city and people-to-people dialogue open and ongoing despite the situation we all face now with COVID-19. And as we talked before with Eric about is the consulate busy with the works, so my thought was less time for travel, more time for discussions and connections. If you take a look from a bright side of a story. And thank you, Adrian, for commemorating Stanley Balsikas. We all miss him really much and hope that his work of his life will be going on, and we'll have a time and chance to commemorate him. Also, I'm really very glad to see and to meet so many known faces on this meeting. Our honorary consuls all around the United States, my friends from Vilnius Rotary clubs, my colleague Yeva Dilite, who was used to be working for Chicago Sister Cities, and she is one of the persons we are really grateful for keeping all those contacts and helping us to do our work. As Eric mentioned, Chicago is the largest Lithuanian city outside Lithuania. We're sometimes joking that it's the second or third city of Lithuania. And Chicago became a home to many Lithuanians, immigrants that settled here since 1900s and helped build Chicago along with many other diverse ethnic communities. I'm also really proud of our two great cities share special city-to-city and people-to-people connections. And Vilnius and Chicago became sister cities back in 1993. And since then, we have been growing partnerships in many areas, bilateral visits. And maybe Mr. Mayor will remember his own visit in Chicago. This year, Lithuania celebrates 30 years of independence, our benefits of membership in European Union, NATO, OECD. We are proud of the achievements of Lithuanian people, and Vilnius, the capital, has come also a long way. And Eric, you should come one day back to Vilnius to see all those changes from 2003. There are a couple of them. I may talk a lot of describing the similarities of Vilnius and Chicago. Uniqueness of Vilnius, its culture, history, the fastest Wi-Fi in the world, the hotspot for fintech industries and for Netflix filming place. However, I have no intention to take this pleasure away from the mayor of Vilnius, Mr. Remigijus Šimašius. Remigijus is a lawyer by his background, former president of Lithuanian Free Market Institute. In 2008, he was appointed Minister of Justice for the Republic of Lithuania, at the time one of the youngest ministers in our government. Later, he became a member of parliament. And Mr. Šimašius has been elected as mayor of Vilnius in 2015 and re-elected for the next term in 2019. As a mayor, he is, I'm quoting himself, committed to continue building the city full of a spirit of freedom and creativity so that it would become a source of inspiration and goodness for the people of Vilnius, of Lithuania, and of the entire Europe. I should add also of the world. So please welcome Mayor of Vilnius, Remigijus Šimašius.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So is it my turn now?
You're up, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. So hello, everybody. Good morning from the evening Vilnius. It's a pleasure for me to be in Rotary Club of Chicago as well. As it was a big pleasure to be in Chicago last June and to visit both Chicago important places in the conference and also Lithuanian places, including the suburb of Lemont, which was mentioned here before, and also historical Lithuanian suburbs. And you may feel how important the city was and is for Lithuanians in general. And it's a part of this reflection of American dream for Lithuanians. And some people actually say that we as Lithuanian nation, we are a very American type nation in Europe because of the following this American dream and dynamism we have. And that's actually the type of spirit we have in many areas, including culture and economic life and the general attitude to life. Just thank you, the consul, for introducing me. Just to add a little bit, yes, before joining public service, political life 12 years ago, I was running a private think tank, free market advocacy think tank, Lithuanian Free Market Institute. I was also teaching philosophy of law. I have a PhD in law. I was teaching at the university. Then I was Minister of Justice, Member of Parliament, and now I'm mayor. Also active in political life on national level. We having a national election coming in a month. And I'm vice chairman of Lithuanian Freedom Party, which is classical liberal party. Well, we can meet with sometimes it's a misunderstandings with like American European terms, but it's a very classical liberalism based on the writings of Hayek and others. We are right wing in economics and left wing in human rights, which is not very easy to understand sometimes in other countries, but we have this good tradition. I think it's a good tradition. As for Vilnius, so Vilnius will be soon celebrating 700 years anniversary in 4 years, in 3 years actually. And Vilnius, I like this establishment moment of Vilnius very much because it's one of the few cities which was like first mentioned by the city leaders or by the rulers themselves, because it was a letter from the Grand Duke of Lithuania inviting merchants and producers and everyone from the Europe to Vilnius, ensuring the free space and basically freedom of religion, freedom of trade, freedom of everything. And that's I think it's a very good beginning for the city because it's a good start. You start as a free area, inviting other people, and that destiny was leading Vilnius for a very long time. The other moment I would like to stress that Vilnius was always positioning itself as a fortress of freedom in fighting with some other neighbors which were not so eager to protect human rights and personal freedoms, especially like 200 years or worse with Moscow, and that was a very tough time for Lithuania. But then we lost for some time, what is interesting again to see, and we still have this reflection when travelers were traveling into Vilnius. Many of them, they had this kind of thoughts that basically it's quite a good city, but it has one problem, because it's too tolerant. So that was the biggest problem for Vilnius for many centuries. Because if you were Catholic, you were like claiming there are too many Orthodox people, or Tatar people, or Jewish, or other nationalities. If you were like Orthodox, you were naming all the others, and so Vilnius was always full of different cultures, and that was treated as a problem for many times. Of course, beginning of the 20th century, on one hand, brought a fashion of tolerance. On the other hand, that brought very, very, very difficult times for Vilnius. We lost basically all our Jewish community because of Holocaust. That's a very tragical event. It's a big reconstruction of Vilnius nationwide. So now we are living during our golden age, I must say. And for now, we are a city of 600,000 people, so it's much smaller than Chicago, of course, but it's like medium-sized city for European-wise. As for city, we are modestly growing, around 1% per year growth annually in terms of population. Economically, it's amazing growth, actually, because Lithuania for the last 20th century is the fastest growing nation in European Union, and Vilnius is definitely the biggest growth source for Lithuania. We have a very good balance for like work-life balance according to world standards. And for example, again, the growth of like salaries for people is like amazingly high. But also, for example, affordability of housing is also growing, which is not a typical situation for cities, because typically if the salaries are growing, affordability of housing is decreasing. Not in Vilnius. We have very sustainable development and still big affordability of housing for people to arrive. One thing that to mention again is that according to Eurobarometer official data, which is ordered by European Commission, Vilnius is officially the happiest capital city of European Union. 98% of all citizens of Vilnius are happy living in Vilnius. 98% on positive side. That sounds so amazing. It doesn't look like a true number, but it is. We are beating like such other good cities as Copenhagen or Stockholm by 1%. There are 97% in them, but we're still number one. So that's a big pleasure to lead a city which is like growing and a happy city. And also, yes, it was mentioned already that looking to the new branches of economy, when looking to what is the future of economy, of course, cities do focus on different areas. For us, what is very important, actually, after Brexit, after UK left European Union, Vilnius is the biggest fintech hub for European Union, because before London was the first place and Vilnius was the second. Now Vilnius is the first place in absolute terms on fintech companies, because of many aspects, because of our policies of being like faster than others and more open than others, and because of big talent in mathematical and econometrics and IT skills. Then of course IT, as in many other cities, is also very much developing, and we also have some other very exotic and nice areas where we are very strong. One is optoelectronics or lasers. Basically, in some of these markets, we have like a biggest share in the world, and then we have a very good both universities and companies in the laser industry. Just if you like look to what top 100 universities, so it's an interesting number, 96 of them, they have Lithuanian lasers in their like laser laboratories. And it's also used for industry and so on. Also, the other industry, which is very important for us and very interesting, is biomedicine. We have several very strong companies, including some American like Thermo Fisher, which has a very significant research center and production center, including also, of course, meeting the challenges of today in the world. So for us, it's again very, very important. We have a huge research potential and production potential in this area. You know, for me, it's always very inspiring when you enter a new type of factory in the city, which doesn't look like a factory. You enter basically a small room, and they show you like a small, like 1 liter bottle of basically of the thing, which looks like a water, and says, you know, there's like a couple of grams of material in this bottle, which costs around 5 million euros. So it looks very interesting and inspiring, you know, and inspiration of how the world looks like today. For me as a mayor, of course, it's very important to develop the city. I had a very clear vision of what kind of development of the city I want to have, and the biggest thing was to inspire people and to encourage people to create the city, because before it was still a question of a division between citizens and municipality, and it looked like municipality is ruling the city, and citizens basically have to enjoy what municipality is doing. So empowering the people, I think it's a very important aspect. And in this respect, of course, we do have to have many things, with openness and being fast and accepting new ideas. And I must say that probably Vilnius is number one in Europe in the open data policies, because we have very radical open data policy, and it brought to very interesting results as a result. For example, you know, many people do speak about smart cities or about such products as mobility as a service, where you like combine all kind of traveling modes in one. Basically, as a person, you want to get from point A to point B, not paying so much attention of what source of transport you are going to use. So basically, Vilnius was able to practically implement this kind of mobility. Our company Trafi, which was using our open data, is one of the leading companies worldwide right now, and providing this service of combined journeys. And for example, in terms of sharing economy, of car sharing, we are number one, at least in Europe. We don't have data for the world, but probably in the world as well. But we are number one in Europe in terms of cars per capita, or cars per square kilometer or square mile for sharing. Basically in Vilnius, for 600,000 people, we have more than 1,000 cars for sharing. One company is purely electric car sharing company, which was the first in Europe, purely electric company for car sharing. And basically, again, when many companies are still thinking about this, how to implement this, how to do this. And I've heard many mayors of similar size saying that, no, our city is maybe too small, or too flat, or too widespread, or whatever, in order to introduce this. And sometimes these cities are completely of the Vilnius model, and we are number one in terms of car sharing per capita. This is very, very, very important. And it brings very interesting results to everyday life of people. People are starting to get rid of their own like personal cars just because it's so easy to use this shared cars. This kind of urbanistic dream, which comes to life here in Vilnius. Of course, for me, you mentioned some kind of 50 buses, which is actually peanuts in comparison with what we are doing. I'm very glad that, you know, we are again one of the few cities where the number of public transport users is increasing, because in many cities do invest a lot in public transport, and they often fail to achieve the increase of public transport users. For us, we have a steady increase of public transport users for 3 years in a row already. And again, for example, if looking to our very simple but quite again simple to use and accepted by the citizens public transport system, which is based on buses basically. So out of like a fleet of 550 buses, more than 300 of buses are completely new or no older than 3 years, which makes us our fleet one of the newest in the world actually. And of course, you know, when me personally, my car is almost 14 years old, and you know, I know that our buses fleet is very new. Somehow I feel quite good about it, living in such a city. And again, it's very inspiring to see how many people are using public transport. We are investing a lot in bicycle roads. I know that Chicago was mentioned again as a very progressive city in this respect a couple of years ago, and still doing a good job. So for us, it's also a very big thing. And also our intention is to have it as widespread as possible. But just to end my short introductory speech, because of course you will like to ask some questions. I hope so. You know, very clear strategy for me to be competitive in the world. I know that, you know, competition today is not so much among companies who attract financial resources, but it's more competition among companies who will find the most educated and most devoted workforce in the city. And basically, the biggest fierce competition is between cities to attract talented people. Because if you have talented people, you have good companies in the city. And me as a mayor, I'm doing a lot in attracting companies as well. But you know, the question which I hear always during conversations when Vilnius is shortlisted, I'm very happy that 90% of this shortlisted cases are turning into the final decision to invest in Vilnius. And always the question is, do you have enough talent here? So of course it means that you have to direct your investment and strategies directly to attracting and creating talent in the city. So for me, the two main goals are related to this. One is education, because it's about creating new talented people. And in here, I do understand that in all of our cities, we have very bad public education systems. But the question is how to make them a little bit, at least a little bit better, and a little bit more oriented toward the future. Because we all know that our schools are based on the model which was created in the 19th century, and we are still teaching children in the same way. But we are introducing many creative technologies in order to be as adjusted to the future as possible. For example, now we have a program to start all our children to teach them the fourth language, because for language number one is Lithuanian, language number two is English as a like universal for schools. Language number three is the other like foreign language, is basically either French or German or Russian or sometimes Polish. And language number four is programming. So we are introducing the programming skills to all of our children since this year. It's not all which are covered, but we will cover all soon. So this is about education. I'm focusing on education a lot. And then of course in making talented people decision easier to choose Vilnius when they are like grown-up people already, either to come to Vilnius from other countries or to stay in Vilnius if you are born here or if you studied here. And of course, in this respect, what is again very important is a good education for the children, good public transport and mobility in the city, and good public spaces and cultural life. So that's a very combined structure of what we want to have, but that's exactly I try to focus, and it pays back. As I mentioned, Vilnius is growing by 1% per year, which is a good result for European cities, and we are dealing with this very well, and people, they afford housing, which is affordable and of better quality. Eric, if you would come to Vilnius when the quarantine is over, because now it's not so easy to come, so you would see that it changed a lot. I know that cities are changing a lot, many cities, but Vilnius is really changing a lot, and you would find it very inspiring. So for me, from my side, this kind of short, I hope that it's a short introduction, and I will be more than willing to answer questions and to hear your comments as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. That's that's very impressive work that you're doing in the city, and I certainly will take you up on that offer at some point, hopefully not in the too distant future, to come out to Vilnius, in particular because I want to experience all of the public transit and the various ride sharing and bike sharing, and I'm a consultant by trade, so I always want to be able to share with my clients best practices from around the world. So I'm thoroughly impressed by what you said that you're doing. We do have a question here from one of our attendees, Yeva. She's asking, after your visit to Chicago in June, what inspired you here in Chicago? And have you brought home any Chicago ideas that you may want to implement in Vilnius?
What I've seen in Chicago and what I really did like is a kind of this bravery when dealing with the city development. Because again, this approach might differ a lot because the situation is a little bit different, because we have a huge like UNESCO heritage, like old city, and of course it has to be protected. It's also very dynamic and then included into a heritage list as a dynamic and changing old city, which means that we do have development in this. But again, when dealing with the other like central parts, sometimes we have discussions about whether we can do it or not, whether it's appropriate or not appropriate. So what I really like about Chicago, this kind of like big bravery of reconstructing itself always. Sometimes I know that it leads to decisions which have to be reconsidered later on. It's a part of this bravery, but I really like the spirit, because without it, the city goes to stagnation. So this spirit, I think it's a very important part. So maybe this is the biggest impression what I brought home from Chicago.
Yeah, I think you've summarized that spirit quite well. I agree with you. I have a question for you. You talked about some of the industries that are prominent in Vilnius, and some of them being future-looking, exports such as happiness. But I'm curious, what is, between Chicago and Vilnius, are there any particular industries that are very strong, particular types of Lithuanian companies, for example, that are based in Chicago, or vice versa?
There are some, and they're quite interesting. One is very interesting. It's again related to IT, because we had some like our last wave immigrants from Lithuania to Chicago, then established IT companies, and DevBridge is one of these companies, very good companies. And later on, they were like coming back to Lithuania and having the development center in Lithuania, and it's very interesting company, which is also contributing to our educational goals. It's very interesting. So this IT sector, which doesn't look like a sector like sharing, but again, we have companies which are based both in Chicago and in Vilnius. It's very interesting. Then there is a very interesting sector which is transportation and logistics. And because Chicago is a logistics like city, and it's very clear. For us, for Lithuania, I mean, Vilnius was not basically a logistical city, because also for Lithuania we have other cities which like on the coast and more like logistical centers. But Lithuania in general, and for like logistical know-how, Vilnius is a very important. For example, the biggest logistical company of Europe is based in Vilnius. It's called Girteka. I mean, I don't know, is it big to American size or not? But like having around 15,000 trucks. It's a quite a big size. It's a very big for European wise, and it's not just because they are big, because they are big. It's a very innovative company, introducing a very good methods. And actually, I know that this kind of innovation, they would be very successful in the United States, because like empty kilometers, we have much less of this in Lithuania for our companies than typically in the United States. The market is even more competitive, and they're doing very well on European wise. But logistics is very important, because we also have some like Lithuanian American companies who are reinvesting back to Lithuania and establishing innovative products in logistics. So that's important. And also because some logistical like kind of bridges are also built between the United States and Lithuania through Chicago in a way. including some like exotic areas, which was like traditionally, and it's not a huge economic area, but it's a kind of very important area. It's like used car dealing, because Lithuania somehow became a very big center for this. I mean, people from many countries are coming to Lithuania to buy cars, which are very often imported from the United States, and very often like repaired in Lithuania. I don't know why and how it works so, but because maybe of technical knowledge and this ties and everything, and they even know that in like logistical decisions, the Lithuanians were the ones who like invented how to transport cars in a more efficient way, and sometimes it's this kind of marginal utility like increase. It makes it a profitable business, and it's very interesting ties. But again, I'm looking to like new areas, and I must say that especially in biotechnologies, because in Chicago there is also very quite strong sector, and I know that this sector is growing, and of course it's very promising worldwide because of connection with everything, with neurology, with nanotechnology, with everything. And in Lithuania we have a good potential of people, and I really do think, and I do look forward to having more investment into this area in Lithuania, because basically we have like 3 big companies. One of these is American, one is Israeli, and one is Lithuanian. And we have quite many startups, but basically we still have the room for 2 or 3 big companies to develop and to produce their products in Lithuania. So when looking to the future, I think this area is very, very promising. Looking to some other areas like shared business centers, Lithuania is very important, and this grew already to more sophisticated cases, because when we have, it's not Chicago but American anyway, when we have like NASDAQ in Lithuania, it's a very, very serious tasks of NASDAQ is performed from Vilnius already, again because of many reasons, both because of very good internet connection and because of talented people we have here. But I cannot disclose all these things which are done by NASDAQ in Vilnius, but quite essential things, and that's again an opportunity, I think, for many companies to have this mutual relations.
That's really fascinating, and frankly a lot more diverse by sector than I would have anticipated. That's great. We have a couple more questions here that I'd like to share with you. I think we probably have time for 2 more questions. So both of them are relating to cooperation with other locations. So let's start domestically first. Are there any projects that you are currently working on in conjunction with Lithuanian members? This is from our guest, Dina.
With Lithuanian citizens in Chicago?
With Lithuanian mayors. So I think maybe other projects, multi-city projects. It's always very interesting, speaking about cooperation between mayors and the cities, because basically cities are more or less the same structures. And when you speak about cooperation, this cooperation basically is about learning from each other and like copying with pride if somebody is doing a good things, and this competitive spirit, how to do things better. And I do really appreciate that, because it's really very inspiring. Because when you look practically, what Vilnius can do together with Chicago, basically together, of course we may have like a cultural exchange, we may have some kind of exchange, but basically why it is important, because of connection of people who may either do business together or some things together on a like personal or company level. But between cities, learning from each other, it's basically the biggest thing. Speaking about Lithuanian cities, it's again the same situation. But for us, like being the biggest Lithuanian city, and of course, I hope I will not sound like too arrogant on this, but our playground is a little bit different. When we have competition for investment of talented people, is basically not between Vilnius and other Lithuanian cities. It's basically between Vilnius and other regional cities. It's in Northern Europe and then Central Europe and Europe, basically. Sometimes also United States. It's a question how to keep talented people in Vilnius and not to let them go to other European cities and for the investment as well.
and when they have meetings with the companies who do want to invest. So basically, if you have like shortlists of 2 or 3 cities, so the other cities are typically either like Warsaw or Krakow or Budapest or sometimes Riga or Tallinn. Very often these are northern European cities from Scandinavia. So it's a competition on international level. But again, some things which were like invented in Vilnius as a kind of small but important innovations. So my approach is always to share this, or to have it open source and open data based. And yeah, cities are using this approach, and it's very, very important. Starting with like the registration tool for children to schools, because many cities are struggling with this simple task, and we actually invented a good decision for this. How you register to school? How to do it. Of course we do it all electronically, and almost everything is done electronically. During pandemic, actually, we gave up also on all. Actually, all of our services to citizens went online. I mean, with no exception, everything might be done electronically, and also like open data policies, because many cities do think about it, but how to do it practically. So we have a good expertise in this, and then we share this as well. So maybe these kind of small practical examples.
Yeah, no, that's great. We have a lot of questions, a lot of great questions coming through, but we're basically out of time here. But I'm going to give you one really easy and really quick question, Mr. Mayor. Where is your favorite place in Vilnius?
You know, my favorite place, I know, of course, not all the people know Vilnius very well, but maybe it's Kalnų parkas, maybe this, like, what we call it, mountain park, because, you know, what I like in Vilnius is the closeness of nature to very densely inhabited areas, and all these like natural areas in quite essential places are very, very interesting to me, because I like running around, and that's always very inspiring to see the cities through the leaves of the trees and the branches of the trees.
I like it. Well, when I go back to Vilnius, I'll make sure to check that out then, so I can experience that as well. Mr. Mayor, Your Honor, thank you so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed listening to what you're doing in Vilnius and recalling my times there in Vilnius as well. Please, everybody, give them a virtual round of applause.
Thank you for patience also.
Oh yeah, no. We really appreciate your time late in the evening in Vilnius. We will be sending you a gift, which you can kind of see in my hand right now. This is a candle, and we send this to all of our speakers. And basically, the idea is we try to support our community through the gifts that we give to speakers, with the goal of affecting change here in Chicago. So all proceeds from these candles go to support an organization called Bright Endeavors, and their mission is to empower young moms by providing transitional jobs and professional skills training. So this not only helps those young moms, but it also supports their kids and ultimately our communities. So at some point here, you'll be getting one of these in the mail.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm looking forward to get this gift. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Fantastic. And think of us whenever you light it. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay. We still have a lot of program left here, and I would encourage all of our guests to please stick around and hear a little bit more about what we have going on in the club. And also, I'd like to hear from all of our guests here in just a few minutes. It's always fun to get to meet people from all over the city and all over the world. But I'd like to start first with doing a little bit of a service spotlight. As you know, I like to spotlight different service projects we're doing here in the club. There's one that's been sort of flying a little bit under the radar, but it's quite relevant to our program today. It's actually a program through Chicago Sister Cities International, and it's their Youth Ambassador Mentor Program. And two of our members are engaged helping to mentor youth through that program. Don Gardner brought it to our attention, and when we forwarded it to them, they stepped up immediately without question. And that's Shea Ogundeji as well as Harriet Lewis. And since Harriet is with us here today, I'd like her to just spend a minute or two and tell us a little bit about what the program is about and what she's experienced so far. Harriet, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity to present on this briefly, and glad to see you, Adrienne, on the call today. Yeah, so this was, I was, excited to be invited to participate in this. Mentorship is something that's very important to me, and connecting and helping, especially this particular program, because this mentorship program is tied to the Youth Ambassador, the Global Youth Ambassador Virtual Leadership. Well, actually, it's not virtual; it's virtual this year. The Leadership Summit that I have, I've seen with Chicago Sister Cities. I've been connected tangentially to Chicago Sister Cities through my role, my capacity as honorary counsel. So I was excited to be invited to participate, and I was matched with this amazing 15-year-old who's from Amman, Jordan. And Jordan is on my list of places to visit. I visited the region a couple of times and I'm familiar with some of the countries, but I haven't visited Jordan. And so we've had a meeting. Our requirements are to meet, quarterly. But Shahid and myself, we decided we're going to meet monthly, and to establish some goals and to try to accomplish the goals within the year time of the project. And her goals are, she's an amazing young woman and has a digital presence, but she wants to develop her leadership skills, which from our first conversation, she is definitely a leader amongst her peers, to transform her online platform into an empowerment page, to address various social issues, and to apply for an international summer program to receive a scholarship to do so next year. So I'm excited to participate and to give back and serve in this way. And I'm glad that Rotary One and Chicago Sister Cities provided the opportunity for me this year.
Well, thank you so much, Harriet. And again, I really appreciate you stepping up. That means a lot to me when people, like I said, without question, they just say, "Yep, sign me up." So that's really important. And education is particularly important to the club, particularly this year with our strategic planning process. We've identified that as a key area for the city. So that's really helpful. Thank you so much, Harriet. So now we want to hear a little bit from our guests from around the city and around the world. We have a lot of guests today, so I'm going to do my best to be the conductor here and call the names of people that I see on the participant list, who I believe are guests. Please introduce yourself, your name, where you're from, what your profession is, and then if you're a Rotarian, please tell us your Rotary Club, and try to keep it to that, since there's so many people on today. And I am going to start with Victoria Trimble from Lithuania. Victoria, please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Victoria Trimble. I'm co-founder of Lithuania International Rotary Club that you were so generous to be our sponsor club. And this year I'm district governor. So I'm digital entrepreneur. My background is mergers and acquisitions.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you could join, and thanks again for helping to support and promote this program. It means a lot to me.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. I know that we have other folks from Chicago Sister Cities. Anel Montes, I see you on. Could you introduce yourself? Anel, are you on? You might need to unmute yourself.
Okay, you want to do that too. Then
okay, now we hear you.
Writing, and that's when we can figure out what she was talking about. All right, go back. It's been 3 minutes.
Okay, well, we'll have to come back to Anel. Let's run through the list here of others. Okay, Ginta Rubin, would you like to introduce yourself? If you're still on. Okay, not hearing her. Yeva Dilete, are you still on? Eva, would you like to introduce yourself? we'll have to come back to her.
Hi, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
So yes, my name is Yeva Delite. I'm the advisor for cultural affairs and public diplomacy at the Consulate General of Lithuania here in Chicago, and I'm very excited to be on this program here today because before coming to the consulate, I was almost 10 years with Chicago Sister Cities, part of an amazing team, and it's great to see Adrian and Anel on the call as well.
That's awesome. Welcome. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you.
And I should once again put my disclaimer out there to please forgive me with the pronunciation of names here today. I will be doing my best, but do correct me when you introduce yourself. So we also have a Regina Gagliasiore. Regina, are you still on? Not hearing Regina. Audra Januskiene. Audra, are you on?
Oh, he's calling their names.
Let's see here. Diva Navarrete, are you still on? Dina Stiliunas. I know I spoke with you at the beginning of the call. Are you still on? I think a lot of folks have been dropping off here. Craig Simon.
Yes, hello, I'm still here.
Excellent.
So yeah, my camera's not working, but I'm originally from Indiana. I'm a PhD student now studying city diplomacy, international city cooperation, international city networks. So I'm based now at the University of Nottingham Ningbo campus. I'm back in the US currently because of the virus. I hope to return to that campus soon in China. But yeah, thanks for organizing this event. It was very interesting to hear from you and the mayor, to hear all about all the international city cooperation that Chicago is doing.
Well, thank you so much, Craig. Thanks for tuning in. Feel free to join anytime. We have, let's see here, Michael Edgar, are you still on? How about Bernie Rowan? Are you still on? Shai Basis, are you still on? Ingrida Bublis.
Yes, hello.
How about Renata from, oh, hello, Ingrida.
Yes,
please introduce yourself.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, okay. We can hear you.
Great. I'm Ingrida Bublis, the Honorary General Counsel for the Republic of Lithuania in the state of Ohio and president of IB International and a longtime Rotarian of the Cleveland Rotary Club. And I really enjoyed the program today, and thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much. Speaking of other Lithuanian Rotarians, Renata Konopka from our own Chicagoland Lithuanian Club, are you still on? I know she also helped to spread the word about the program, so even though she's not on, I want to give a shout out to the Chicagoland Lithuanian Club. Irv and Ruth, I know you guys are still on. Could you just, of course we know who you are, but if you could introduce yourself for the group. Irv, you may have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Irv Kaplan, past district governor, birthplace of Rotary, District 6450, home of Chicago Rotary 1. One message. I invite everyone to visit our Paul Harris House and our Paul Harris Memorial and our Rotary 1 Club. History comes alive when we visit the places we have read about. Thank you.
And I want you to know that Mr. Paul Harris is right behind us. You see him?
Yeah, we're okay.
We see him. We see him. Very good.
He's here all the time.
I attended the charter club of the Lithuanian club here in Chicago.
Oh,
Very
that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Irv and Ruth, and thanks for taking good care of Paul Harris back there.
We're going to take care of him.
Good meeting.
Excellent. Thank you. We have a few more guests on as well. We've got Lynn Kozlauskas. Lynn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Lynn Kozlauskas, and I work with a company called S3 Strategic Staffing Solutions that have some offices over in Vilnius. So I live here in Chicago as a Lithuanian American, new with the company, and happy to join in and hear about the Rotary Club and listen to the mayor.
Thank you so much for joining. Mr. Nagin Sunkara, welcome back. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Kishore Sunkara from India, Rotary Club of Rajahmundry River City. I'm a immediate past president. I'm a sports and community psychologist. A wonderful sessions today, Eric Campbell, for giving me a wonderful opportunity. And it is in the nascent memory of me. Last year I came and met you all over there. Thank you. Good luck to Rotary One.
Always great to. Oh, well, thank you, and always great to have you representing your club here on our call. Come on back anytime.
Thank you.
You bet. We have a few other guests still. Randy Pote, Rotarian from Las Vegas, looks like. Would you like to introduce yourself? Just have to unmute yourself, Randy. Well, we may have to come back to Randy. Let's move on to Sarah Stackhouse.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah from the Rotary, Eau Claire Morning Rotary Club in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and I'm a former youth exchange to Thailand. So, and now I've become a Rotarian, and I'm working on trying to visit all the clubs around, or a club in every country around the world. So this is the main one I wanted to start with from the United States.
Awesome. Well, we're proud that we were the main one you wanted to attend. Thank you so much for joining. And it's also always good to see an alumnus of a Rotary program, youth program, come on back and join the Rotary fray, as it were. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Let's see here. We have a few other guests. Ulrika Savage-Kaite, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. My name is Aurika. I'm a member of Rotary Club of Chicagoland Lithuanians, and I'm a co-founder of helmet-based-ventilation.com. So we're trying to fight the pandemic now in US with a new technology for the hospitals. Thank you for having us here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you. And I'm glad somebody is here representing your club. That's great. That's great. I also see Valdemar on, another old friend. Valdemar, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, President Eric. Thank you for the invitation, as always. I very much enjoyed the meeting today. I am a member of a German club in Witten in the Ruhr region and traveling a lot. And especially, I have a very nice special memory regarding Vilnius, because my honeymoon trip in 1991 led my wife Sabina and myself especially to Vilnius, and it was few days after the recognition of independence of Lithuania by the former USSR. So it was a very, very interesting and emotional visit in Lithuania. Thank you very much for the invitation, and all the best.
That's an incredible story. Thank you very much, Valdemar. Always good to see you. I see a Vitaly. Vitaly, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you for having me. Vitaly Skolenikovs. I'm not Rotary One member, but I was invited, so thank you for invite. I'm founder and CEO of Tower Communications Expert. We're a telecommunication company having operations in 15 states here in the United States, and planning to open an office operations in Lithuania starting this year as well.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Vitaly, and do come back anytime. You're always welcome. Let's see here. I think I see a few more guests on, and then we'll move on to our announcements. I see a Bill K. Bill Kay. If you're a guest, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, yes, I'm Bill Kuhlman. I'm the past president of the Rotary Club of Minneapolis. I'm an attorney and trust officer during the day. And I was intrigued by your program today because thinking it's something that our club could do as well with the Minneapolis Sister City program. So thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, and feel free to reach out if you need any tips or pointers on how we were able to develop the meeting. I'd be happy to help out. And let's see, are there any other guests on that I failed to recognize? Please unmute yourself and speak up.
Yes, hello, this is Vesta Volutskaite. I joined a little later, so maybe you didn't see me. I am a radiologist by training. I'm currently in Chicago. I do belong to Vilnius Chicago Sister Committee, and I used to be a Rotarian for a long time. I belong to Chicagoland Lithuanian Rotary Club. And as you know, once you're a Rotarian for the rest of your life. Very nice meeting everybody, and thank you so much for such a beautiful and wonderful program.
Well, thank you so much, Vesta, for joining us. And you're right. Once you're a Rotarian, you are a Rotarian for life. So we hope to see more of you. Come on back.
I will.
Thank you. Excellent. Any other guests? Okay. Not hearing any. Let's move on to our announcements, and then we'll wrap up our meeting for today. So some volunteer opportunities. Our Stand Down Day, which is our day where we give out warm clothing and jackets to veterans here in Chicago. It's going to be structured a little differently this year because of COVID-19, and we'll provide more information as it's available. But do start checking your closets for new or clean, gently used men's winter coats. Coats should be clean with no repairs needed. Starting from large and going up from there. They're really only accepting coats, and we need about 100, 150 coats or so. And we'll get more information on where those coats are going to go in the weeks ahead. But ultimately, there will be a point where there will be a service opportunity to also stuff some bags that we're going to need some additional hands with that are going to go to the veterans. So again, we'll make sure all that stuff is up and online and ready for people to sign up once we have those details finalized. You also know, if you've been in on any of my meetings in the last 2 months, that there is something called the Rotary Network, where you can really increase the value that you're getting as being a Rotarian through networking, through posting your company and sharing with others, through learning about ways to overcome the pandemic with your company, mentoring, so on and so forth. There is a survey out there right now. We want you to answer that survey. It doesn't take very long. I answered it myself. It only took about 5 minutes. It's really just to gauge what are people getting right now on the business side from Rotary. And we want to know how we can continue to do better. We also need more employers and job postings on the job board. Finally, there's also a Rotary Means Business meeting, which is a great way, again, to network and connect with other business-oriented Rotarians. That's on September 24th. You can just register directly through the website that's shown on the screen right now, or go to the district website and you can find it there. Nice foray into a Lithuanian-focused event coming up with the Chicago Lithuania Club golf outing and dinner, which is coming up on September 19th down in Old Oak Country Club, not far from where I was living when I was down in Lamont. If you were there at the beginning of the meeting, you can check the district website for that and other fundraisers. And speaking of golf, if any of you out there are interested in golf, there's another one, a golf classic for the Boy Scouts of America down at Kemper Lakes. So do reach out to our very own Marilyn Lopez if you want to get more information on that, or you can reach out to any of the CAM staff, CAM staff to get connected there. We have, as always, plenty of great meetings coming up for you to participate in. We have the International Service Committee meeting on September 16th, PR and Marketing Committee is September 17th, Community Service Committee on October 1st, and the board meeting on October 6th. Anyone is always welcome to attend those and learn more about the inner workings of the club and how things get done and projects get done. We'd love to have you. Always great to have more hands. The Community Service Committee in particular is exploring ways to start gathering school supplies. There are a variety of needs. They're growing, as you might imagine, with children being at home and not being able to necessarily get the supplies that they would normally get. But we need a few people to help organize this. So if you're interested in helping out our Community Service Committee and gathering school supplies, please reach out to me or Cam, Wes Westerfield, or Sarah Buck. That additional assistance would be really appreciated. Glad to hear that people were enjoying the meeting today. We have a lot of other great meetings coming up. Our Friday roundtables are back. It's just pay as you go at the Union League Club of Chicago, Friday at noon. Show up, get your temperature taken, sign in, go up to the 4th floor. Next Tuesday, September 15th, Tony Award-winning actor Joe Mantegna is going to be here, so please do join for that. And then the week after that, we have our club assembly. We'll update you on how we're doing with the strategic plan and all of the other great projects we have going on. So that should also be fun. Please do join for that. And then finally, we'd like to wrap up, as we always do, with the reciting of the four-way test. And so if we could put the four-way test slide up on the screen, if everybody else could please stay on mute and recite it at home. But I'd like to invite District Governor from the Lithuania International Rotary Club, Victoria Trimble, to please recite the four-way test for us today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure and honor to do that. So the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, my dear sisters and brothers in Rotary. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Victoria. It was great to see you, great to have you here. And with that, meeting adjourned.